Back when I first started this channel, I used to make quite a lot of wage-related videos. I even did an entire series taking a look at the best paid players in each position back in 2018, but the constant increases in players' pay packets at the very highest level has dated that series rather rapidly. Just as a bit of nostalgia or throwback video then, and also because hopefully it's quite interesting, today I'm taking a look at the best paid 11 in world football. To be clear, these aren't the 11 best paid players, otherwise there'll be 9 or 10 forward players, but rather best paid in each position, fitted into a reasonably functioning starting 11. History shows an almost direct correlation between wage budgets and league positions, so in theory, this should be the best starting 11 of footballers on earth. Let's take a look and see if that is the case. Here is the best paid 11 in world football. Goalkeeper, David De Gea. Yes, the best paid goalkeeper in world football, and by some distance too, is Manchester United number 1 David De Gea. Timing is often the key to contract renewals, and De Gea's second contract with Manchester United, which he signed in 2015, in the immediate aftermath of his proposed move to Real Madrid collapsing, saw him receive a hefty pay rise. His contract was reportedly bumped up further to £350,000 a week last summer, a deal which should keep the Spaniard at Old Trafford until the year 2023. De Gea's most recent deal made him by far the best paid goalkeeper on earth, as well as making him the joint second highest earner in the Premier League and the joint highest for the duration of Alexis Sanchez's loan move to Inter Milan. Right back, Sergio Roberto. Right back appears to be the worst paid position in world football, which seems a little harsh when one accounts for the importance of fullbacks within the modern game. The highest earning right back in world football is really a bit of a utility man, with Catalonia native Sergio Roberto having split his playing time between right back and central midfield since breaking into the Barca first team a decade ago. Roberto, who is now aged 28, reportedly picks up more than £160,000 a week, which is a fraction of some of the players in this 11, but still isn't too shabby if we're honest. I included the La Masia graduate on the grounds that he has played more games at right back than he has in any other position this season, but if you wanted more of a natural fullback, Chelsea captain Cesar Azpilicueta would be your man. Centre back, Sergio Ramos. It will come as little surprise to most people to see Sergio Ramos feature in this 11, with the Real Madrid captain having been a dominant force in the Los Blancos dressing room for so many years. A hot-headed but inspirational figure at the Bernabeu, Ramos' defensive credentials have been questioned at times, but despite his dreadful disciplinary record, he is an aggressive and often effective centre-back who so often saves his biggest performances for the biggest of occasions. Capped a record 170 times by Spain, whom Ramos also captains, Ramos is the only defender among a sea of forwards and attacking midfielders when it comes to the very best paid players on earth. Ramos' most recent deal, which was negotiated in 2017 and will run until 2021, reportedly earns him more than £460,000 a week. In other words, enough to buy a small studio flat in London once a week. Centre-back, Thiago Silva. Partnering Sergio Ramos at centre-back is another very experienced defender in the form of Thiago Silva. One of PSG's new Qatari owners' first marquee signings from AC Milan back in 2012, if Silva's primary motivation for joining the Parisians was money, then the move has been a roaring success. Capped 89 times by Brazil, Silva signed his most recent contract in the French capital back in 2016, but that is a deal set to run out at the end of this season. PSG is said to be keen to extend Silva's deal, whilst AC Milan and Juventus are rumoured to be waiting in the wings, but they would require the 35-year-old to take a pay cut. As things stand, Silva is the third best paid player at Paris Saint-Germain, reportedly earning just under £300,000 a week. Left back, Marcelo. There are no surprises at left back, although the magnitude by which Marcelo takes the left back spot is quite something. The second Brazilian in this 11, Marcelo is believed to earn almost twice as much as the second best paid left back on earth, who features on the bench in this 11. Marcelo is unquestionably among the finest fullbacks of his generation, albeit better known for his outstanding technique and sense of adventure than his defensive nous. It's noticeable that this is quite an old backline, and Marcelo adds to that, set to turn 32 in just a couple of days. A 6-time FIFA Pro World 11 inclusion, Marcelo reportedly earns in excess of £330,000 a week, thanks to a deal he penned back in 2017. Central midfield, Paulinho. In our first departure from Europe, we make it 3 consecutive Brazilians in this 11, but this one plays in the Chinese Super League. I thought Tottenham had picked up a real gem in Paulinho back in 2013, but the Brazilian flopped at White Hart Lane. 2 seasons in China prompted a surprise move to Barcelona, but despite a very decent season in Catalonia, new arrivals rendered him surplus to requirements, and Paulinho slumped off back to Guangzhou. Now aged 31, the former Brazilian international is the 10th best paid footballer on earth, and he is the world's best paid central midfielder, with a reported salary of £430,000 a week. Signed back in January 2019, by the time that deal runs out, at the end of 2023, Paulinho will have earned more than £111 million. Central midfield. Luca Mockridge. It's a combination of 2 ex-Tottenham players in the centre of our best paid 11's midfield, both of whom earn far more than anyone at the Tottenham Stadium now. Unlike in the case of Paulinho, few could argue, with Modric deserving one of the most lucrative contracts in world football over the last 6 or 7 years. Croatia's talisman and a key cog in the Real Madrid machine that won the Champions League 4 times in just 5 seasons, Modric is a fantastic all-round midfielder. Tireless, tactically astute and technically excellent, Modric has surely been among the best midfielders of the last 10 years. Now aged 34, Modric's current contract, which is worth a reported £387,000 a week, is due to run until 2021. Right wing. Lionel Messi. I said in the introduction that in theory, the best paid 11 ought to be the world's best 11. I suspect you have all already made your minds up as to whether that is the case, but personally at least, I do believe that the world's best paid footballer is the world's best footballer. Messi reportedly earned £98 million in 2019, although that is an overall figure, including sponsorships and endorsement deals. Meanwhile, his weekly wage alone is said to be in excess of £1.1 million. With just the £1.1 million Messi receives from Barcelona each week, if he never spent a penny, it would take him just 36 years to be able to afford a single US stealth bomber. And yes, HITC Sevens is the only place where you will find fascinating football crossed with military jet-based facts like that. So if you haven't yet subscribed, there's no time like the present. Attacking midfield. Oscar. 2 Chinese Super League players make this 11, whilst another narrowly misses out, and all 3 were part of Brazil's 2014 World Cup squad. Oscar is a very talented footballer who did not look at all out of place in a Premier League winning side. Jose Mourinho was such a big fan of Oscar's that he made him Chelsea's first choice number 10, axing Juan Mata, despite the fact the Spaniard had been the Blues' standout player for the last 2 seasons. Oscar is quick, creative, athletic, and good on the ball. Almost like a poor man's Kaká, but despite having won 47 caps for Brazil in his early 20s, Oscar left the European game for China in December 2016. He hasn't won a cap since, now aged 28, but he does make a reported £540,000 a week, so every cloud I guess. Left wing. Neymar. When you smash the world record transfer fee by 2 times, there's a decent chance you're going to become one of the best paid players on earth. And that's exactly what happened in the case of Neymar following his £198 million move to Paris Saint-Germain. This is a remarkably Brazilian heavy 11 with 5 Brazilians in total, and 1 more to come on the bench. Neymar is the shining light of Brazilian football as the finest Brazilian of his generation, and he'll most likely become Brazil's all-time record goalscorer at some stage, albeit having played far more games than Pelé. Love him or loathe him, Neymar is one of the most exceptionally talented footballers of my lifetime at least, and he's the 3rd best paid footballer on earth. The most marketable athlete in South America, ahead of even Lionel Messi, Neymar makes a fortune through endorsements. In addition to the more than £600,000 a week he is paid by PSG. Neymar is believed to have had some pretty wild clauses in his contract, including a supposed bonus for interacting with fans before and after games, and a hefty Ballon d'Or bonus, but as we all know, he'd have to win a hell of a lot of Ballon d'Ors to be able to purchase his first stealth bomber. Centre forward. Cristiano Ronaldo. The 2nd best paid footballer on earth, one could make a very good case for Cristiano Ronaldo still being the 2nd best player in the world, even at the age of 35. Signed by Juventus for a remarkable £105 million, despite the fact he had no sell-on value, that speaks volumes about both the talent and commercial value of Cristiano Ronaldo. The Portuguese superstar, who is undeniably among the greatest footballers to have ever lived, has scored 53 goals in 75 games since arriving in Turin. That's an excellent record for a forward in the autumn of his career, but Ronaldo's goals don't come cheap. According to reports, the 4-year deal Ronaldo signed back in 2018 is worth a whopping £950,000 a week, which is exactly the same amount as the House of Commons has reportedly paid out of public coffers to cover the legal costs of MPs who've been accused of wrongdoing by their staff over the last 4 years. So that is it for the starting 11, which is a decent little side, although I'd argue probably only 4 of them, maybe 5 at a push, would make my personal world 11. For the bench, I've chosen the best paid goalkeeper, centre-back, full-back, midfielder, and 3 forwards or wingers to have missed out on the starting 11. So as backup to David De Gea, and as such, the world's second best paid goalkeeper, it is Bayern Munich number 1 Manuel Neuer, who is believed to have penned a deal worth around £250,000 a week in 2016. The third best paid centre-back on earth is our 6th Brazilian, somewhat surprisingly, and that man is Marquinhos. Thiago Silva's compatriot and teammate at both club and international level, Marquinhos is said to outturn the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Aymeric Laporte, and Raphael Varane, with a weekly wage worth close to £240,000. Never let it be said that PSG don't fairly remunerate their players. Our backup fullback is another Bayern Munich man who has actually been playing as a centre-back for much of this season, and that man is David Alaba. The Austrian international apparently only earns a measly £165,000 a week, which is less than Uzbeki international Odil Akhmedov, but it's still enough to sneak in here as a substitute. We return to China for our backup midfielder with the once Afro-donning Everton and Manchester United star Marouane Fellaini. The big Belgian apparently earns £361,000 a week at Shandong Luneng, which is an awful lot of money for a man whose best attribute is getting away with elbowing people in the face, and it means that he earns more than the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Paul Pogba. The 3 backup forwards in this 11 are Eden Hazard, Gareth Bale, and Antoine Griezmann, all of whom play for the 2 traditional titans of Spanish football, Real Madrid and Barcelona. Griezmann is the 4th best paid footballer on earth, trailing only Neymar, Messi and Ronaldo, and I contemplated including him in the starting 11 as an attacking midfielder in favour of Oscar, but I decided to stick players in their favoured positions. Aside from those mentioned, the best paid players to miss out on both the starting 11 and on the bench include the likes of Luis Suarez, Hulk and Alexis Sanchez. In charge of our 11, as the best paid manager on earth, we have Man City boss Pep Guardiola, who would presumably try to convince Marouane Fellaini to mutually terminate his contract on his first day in charge. If you took the salaries of every single player in this 11, plus the 7 substitutes, and Pep Guardiola, and times it by 10, you still wouldn't have enough money to... forget it. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed what was a bit of a throwback for the channel, and a welcome break from some of the more serious stuff that I've talked about in recent weeks, which I'm aware not everyone loves. At the end of the day, hopefully there is something for everyone, and you only have to watch the videos you like. Feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you know whenever I've uploaded a video in the future.